Hello and welcome to today's program. My name is Chazin. I am a New York-based organizational development trainer and executive coach. Today's webinar is entitled How to Cultivate More Powerful, Thus Profitable Client Relationships Online. This program is evolved out of an initial demand that there's been with my client base to find creative new ways to nurture stronger relationships between organizations and their clients over the past year being forced into a virtual self-distancing mode of conducting business. So without further ado, let's dive into today's webinar. So what I'd like to suggest, first and foremost, given the past year and as we look forward to potential light at the end of the COVID tunnel, is to use this opportunity now, if you haven't already done so, to revisit your own organization's culture. Culture is the foundational cornerstone of any successful organization. So let's start with this concept of your vision, which is an aspirational statement about what you want to be and become. Your mission statement, which is the functional blueprint of what you do, how you do it, and who you do it for. Your organization's brand, reputational brand, as a unique value proposition. What do you offer that's fundamentally unique, invaluable, and memorable? It's the prerequisite of the Seth Godin concept of the purple cow. From an organizational perspective, how does your organization stand out if you were a cow in a field of many cows? And the purple cow, obviously, the concept, the analogy is stands out. How do you stand out from a culture standpoint? Are you, in other words, a, hey, don't forget us, we do that too, service offering? Or do you possess a true differentiator that'll enable your organization, or has enabled your organization, to achieve lasting competitive advantage? So I want to just spend a moment to talk about what your vision and mission statement is. And as an organizational development, business growth coach working with the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program, I have the opportunity to work quite frequently with small businesses that are in growth mode and really highlight the value of revisiting their and your vision statements and mission statements. So let's start with a vision statement. It's what you want to be. It's what you want to become. It's entirely aspirational. There's no way to prove that it's true or false, because it's aspirational. So for example, Norfolk Southern, to be the safest, most customer-focused, and most successful transportation company in the world. Can you prove that or disprove it? No, but it should be aspirational, as should your vision statement, and that it has to inspire the hearts of the people who do work for you, are considering coming to work for you in the future, and all those collective groups of stakeholders, groups of individuals who interact with your organization, from your customers to your vendors, partners, the government, media agencies. Any organization that interacts with you and your culture should understand what drives your business, and that's your vision statement. So now that's fundamentally different than your mission statement, which is much more of a foundation. It's what you currently do. It's who do you serve? And what do you do for those individuals? So for example, the US Tennis Association, to promote and develop the growth of tennis. Your mission statement drives everything that you do. From an organizational perspective, it's got to be simple, it's got to be direct to the point, and it has to be what's called operative, meaning can your business use your mission statement to advance your short and long-term goals? That's the key distinction between a vision and a mission statement in a nutshell. And so what this plays itself to is, as you're thinking of fostering stronger relationships with your clients online, you may be thinking, what does this have to do with culture? Well, actually, culture is everything. People want to do business with organizations that share their values. They want to go work for organizations that share their values, especially millennials and Gen Zs. So your culture is a collection of your values. Once you define them, you should be marketing the heck out of them everywhere, in every conceivable channel, online especially, in dealing with COVID and virtual realities of self-distancing, no doubt. But with your employees, during employee reward recognition appreciation programs, during new employee hiring and onboarding, in your press releases, on your job descriptions, it should be everywhere. Excuse me. And so in that light of promoting your values vis-a-vis your brand, that becomes your unique value proposition. It's what differentiates or distinguishes you. Being true to your brand, once you've identified what that encompasses through your vision, mission, and values, being true to your brand means being consistent in how you talk about yourself online and offline, and then monitoring your brand on a regular recurring basis. I work with my clients to monitor their brand formally on a monthly and quarterly basis by doing a brand audit, by following what other people are saying about you. So this gets to the notion of your culture. Your culture exists, whether you're 5 employees or 50,000, you have a culture. The question is, do you understand your formal versus informal culture and how to influence both? So let's start out with your formal culture. Your formal culture is aspirational. It's what you want to be known for and become. It's what an organization says about itself. Its HR department, its senior leadership team, its marketing materials. It may or may not have much basis in reality, but the formal culture is what you want to believe you're known for, or what it feels like to work for you. That may have little or no realistic basis compared to what the informal culture is. What your informal culture is what it feels like from your employee's perspective. It's the actual culture that exists. It's visceral. It's what an employee would ask you to describe the organization they work for, their culture, what it feels like to them. Do they feel recognized, rewarded? Does their voice matter? Do they enjoy coming to work every day? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the informal culture. And understanding both is going to help your organization promote itself and nurture stronger relationships with your customers that you have now and future clients. This is everything I'm talking about, a manifestation from a marketing perspective of your unique value proposition. It's what differentiates you. Now, you individually, now this is for each individual who's attending this webinar, from a professional perspective, whether you're looking for a job, your career, you're conducting a career search, a job search, or you're in an organization. You are a manifestation of your organization's reputational brand through your interactions with others. Well, what's your elevator pitch? If somebody were to meet with you briefly, let's say on an elevator, and they say, turn to you and say, so, tell me about yourself. Or you're at a networking event, and they say, so tell me about yourself. That's an elevator pitch. So think about this. Do you have a 15-second, 30-second, 1-minute compelling pitch that says who you are, what you do, what you're looking for, or what you do as a career? You want to have maybe several options of an elevator pitch to be customized to the specific intended audience. Let's say you have several ideal client profiles. Well, your pitch should emulate those client avatars or client profiles. And when you tailor your pitch to the perspective of others, it's what's in it for me. The human animal is an inherently selfish creature. So you crafting your elevator pitch in terms of who you are and what you do and who you serve is from the perspective of how do you add value to others. Don't use industry jargon. So that's a compelling elevator pitch. And then once you craft maybe one or multiple versions, practice, practice, practice. You have a few variations, versions to nail down with confidence. So that's a reputational brand referred to as an elevator pitch or a sales script that promotes the essence of you. So why is this thing called relationship cultivation, even in the midst of a continued global pandemic? Why is it so important? Well, relationship cultivation is powerful for the following reason. The richest or most successful people in the world look to build strong networks. Everyone else is looking for a job. They're looking for work. But strong relationships cultivated throughout your professional and personal networks will create lasting career, professional, and business success. So I want to talk a little bit about relationships. Now, again, this is about how you interact with others in terms of client cultivation, regardless of online or offline. I'm talking about relationship cultivation for a moment. There's a spectrum of human behavior, and on the spectrum are two extremes. One is referred to as the hunter, and this is the epitome of the sales professional, and one is known as the farmer. And I want to explain what that means from a perspective of relationship cultivation so that you can think about Where do you fit in either of these or somewhere in between on the continuum? So the hunter is about the kill, the acquisition. They love the hunt, the pursuit of the new business. They love to pursue that new client acquisition activity, the thrill of the potential rejection, the yes, no moment, the moment that they hook that new customer. It's all about the hunt. And that's what the hunter is known for. They're phenomenal at being the rainmaker, generating new business, but they're fairly stilted or challenged when it comes to relationship cultivation. So you would not want somebody in a pure hunter personality style to be tasked with relationship cultivation. So they go out, they acquire the new client, and then there's almost an immediate handshake or pass off of responsibility once they sign the contract with the client to people who are more along the lines of the farmer. So let's talk about the farmer. The farmer is amiable. They're a nurturer. They're a servant master. They care more about cultivating fewer relationships with people that go deeper in terms of serving them. They are, as a farmer, constantly planting the seeds that'll harvest a fruitful crop of your future customer lifetime value. They do this through their constant interactions, and you have to ask yourself, what personalities do you want, which roles that'll achieve your desired outcome of building a really powerful informal culture through your organization's reputational brand? And so people in your company interact with people called clients, and people dealing with people is relationship cultivation. So having said that, where do we go from here? Just a little bit more detail, a little bit more granular detail of farmer versus hunter as two ends of a relationship behavioral style perspective. And you can see key attributes at the bottom that map to which is more in alignment with a hunter versus a farmer. What we know from research in organizational behaviors, most individuals from a psychological perspective don't have hardwired purely farmer or hunter instincts because we're human beings, we're complex creatures. But this gives you a conceptual framework of where you fit maybe on the continuum between the both. And the kinds of people you hire who share your values that map to your organizational branding. So in nature, there's this construct called mutual symbiosis. And again, think about your customers, think about your clients and cultivating relationships now from a distance virtually. There's this phrase called mutual symbiosis in nature, which has to do with two living, breathing organisms deriving mutual benefit from their existence. So the water buffalo gets the bird to pick off those annoying, itchy bugs from its back that it can't reach. The bird has an uninterrupted 24/7 source of food. So who's your water buffalo or who's your bird? Think about the relationships you have in your organization that your employees cultivate and nurture with your most valuable brand ambassador, apostle kind of loyal clients. So what you want to do from an organizational perspective, thinking about your relationships with your customers is, do you add value? Are you sharing information, making introductions, inviting them to events, shows, conferences, telling them about industry research that would be beneficial to them? That's relationship cultivation. Go a step further. When was the last time, or to what extent do you bake into your daily and weekly relationship cultivation activities formal quantifiable metrics to measure how frequently you connect individuals? I know that this is one of the things I work with when I coach executives how to be servant masters and be less about the what's in it for me and more about being of mutual benefit to other parties. So what are the steps to implement a really powerful brand? I want you to think about your customer for a moment. We're going to be right now creating a construct, a framework for having an approach to constantly cultivate lucrative clients. I'm sure everybody in the midst of COVID and the midst of being more challenged with a more virtual workforce to as effectively serve your clients, let's create a roadmap for who your ideal client is. So start with who do you want or need to connect to. So this is not just networking, which is more generally speaking, want to buy some software, it's less cultivated relationships. We're not talking about networking. We're talking about identifying an ideal relationship connection for you to have a framework for who's constantly coming into your existence, your world that fits that profile. So first of all, start with yourself. What are your career or business or professional goals? What's your organization's short and long-term goals? Take a self-assessment, whether it's a DISC, a Berkeley, a Bolton style at work, it doesn't matter. Understand yourself and the kinds of relationships that you optimize, the kind of people you gravitate to. Build out a professional bio. When I have sales professionals and executives reach me for coaching, one of the first things I ask is, let me read your bios. Those elevator pitches, those descriptions down on paper of ways that you help other people in your relationship world. So research your ideal client. Think of one or two existing clients in your Rolodex, in your contact management system, your client relationship management system, that you have found has been the most lucrative, successful, strongest relationship. And think about that relationship or those few relationships in as much detail as you can to identify those qualities, characteristics of an ideal relationship. So now, where do these people meet? What professional associations do they belong to? You are going to execute a formal strategy to be in the room virtually with these folks. And you're constantly testing, refining, tweaking this process of identifying your ideal relationship from a potential customer perspective and constantly attempting to engage them. So now you're ready to write down the details of this ideal relationship, their job description, their roles, responsibilities, their academic dossier or CV, the industry they work in or the industries they have worked in, past work experience, their community engagement, their community involvement, associations they did belong to or do belong to. Again, you are trying to create in as much clarity as possible an ideal, valuable customer relationship roadmap. So who is their ideal contact? So this is now that Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of connectedness. Who is your ideal potential customer struggling to make relationship connection with? And so as you get all of this information at two levels, your ideal target and their potential ideal relationships, you can start to cultivate a meaningful strategy to engage these ideal contacts. You've got all of this really valuable research. Now put it into action. You've got these profiles and you've identified these individuals because of the research you did, their challenges, their wants, their needs, their desires, and effectively your roadmap for how to serve them. Here you are. It's a client avatar. Their goals and values, how you connect with them and how you can serve them, their challenges and pain points, what they're struggling with that you can be a solution to, their personal and professional information right down the middle, so to speak, so that you really get to know them in a more meaningful fashion. How do they source their information about you, your company, your competitors? Is it print publications? Is it online profiles? Where do they get their information from? And then the other lower right-hand corner is objections that you may face in interacting with them to try and serve them. And again, their role in the purchase or decision-making process. They could be a buyer, an influencer, a decision maker. They can be all of those. So think about that. Now you've got this information, you've got your ideal customer avatars or profiles. You've now moved to the stage where you are committing pen to paper and you've got your relationship client cultivation plan of attack. This works for every functional area in an organization, by the way. Not just sales, no doubt marketing, R&D, product development, customer engagement, finance, operations. All of these functional areas need to have a blueprint of your ideal relationship connection. Again, whether you're just starting out your business development or you've been around for decades or even hundreds of years, and you have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of employees, immaterial. The plan can be universally applied. So think about the associations you belong to. Now rethink that strategy of relationship cultivation in terms of those formal relationship associations. Are they a conduit? Are they a gateway to finding those ideal relationships you're pursuing? So your collective set of strategies to identify individuals who you can serve or who can be of service to you in cultivating client relationships. What strategies do you currently use in order to find these relationship prospects? How do you pre-qualify these engagements and then pursue acquisition strategies that works best for you and your style of relationship engagement, whether you're introvert, extrovert, whether you're a driver, whether you're amiable, regardless of your behavioral styles? Who do you engage with? Who have you engaged with? What's worked for you? What hasn't? These are all concepts. Now you're ready to build out your relationship cultivation pipeline. Who's your connection? What organization? What's the value of that relationship and the percent probability of you cultivating them or signing the contract? So the value and probability multiplied gives you your potential deal flow. The status is how this is working, last point of contact, and any other comments. So that's a pipeline. But how do you manage your relationships? Now, I'm just for visual purposes, I want you to see how you're supposed to map this out. And the most important attribute of this aspect of relationship tracking is how you found these people. Was it strategically in alignment with your ideal connection plan? Here's where we start to talk about virtual. This is the unintended consequence of the past year in dealing in a global pandemic and having to have ourselves and our coworkers get really good at cultivating relationships online. And how do you do that? Well, I don't care about the technology. You should have a platform or several technology platforms that work effectively for you. And once you have that down, the technology familiarity, you should know how to engage people online. So you should have voice tonality. It shouldn't be monotone, even if that's your behavior style. You should learn to roller coaster it, where you go high and you go low, and then you go fast and then you slow down. You should have a background that's ideally suited. And you should have camera contact. I have an external Logitech, so I have to keep looking above the screen. But if you have a built-in camera, that's fine. You should have tested your virtual meeting presence by constantly having people who know you testing you out. You should not have filler noise, and you should engage. I cannot tell you how many group-based training sessions I do or professional events that I participate in where people turn their camera off and they turn their microphone off. That says I'm here only in technology. I'm not here in terms of spirit, heart, and engagement. Share information. You do that online. You would do it in person. Have the right technology. Invite other people to connect with you, not just the noon or 8 a.m., but maybe the after hours. Look, we're all death by Zoom. We're getting exhausted of this virtual existence. So mix it up. Maybe have, for example, a business client roundtable that you do bi-weekly or maybe once a month or quarterly. Hanging out means going online. And at least once a week, you should have a new venue that you're trying out just to kick the tires. As long as the group is new to you, but it fits that strategic set of requirements and conditions that you identified in a few slides ago, that ideal connection world. FaceTime. I don't care what technology. Again, I'm technology averse. I don't care about the technology. I care about the activity. So think about your strengths. Think about what works for you. That comes into play with your relationship cultivation. Know what your competitors are good at and not good at from an organizational standpoint. Know your strengths and weaknesses. So what you want to do is identify a competitive niche. This gets back to your brand, your unique value proposition. What you're really good at and your client and your competitors are not that good at, that's your niche. That's what's called your niche. So make your company feel like a club. Every great organization does this, from Harley Davidson to Nordstrom to Zappos. They create customer engagement communities, virtual and in person, where people, your clients, are treated like VIPs. They're part of a family. But let me just say that's step two. Step two. Step one is put your employees first. Your employees are really the only thing that matters. Your clients don't come first, at least they shouldn't. Most organizations I've coached and consulted with, they do put their clients significantly ahead of their employees. Without your employees, you might as well close up shop. Your employees are your army of brand ambassadors that serve those ideal relationship connections. So step 4, be fanatical about the quality. All that money that you're hemorrhaging, perhaps over the past year, you invested in maintaining relationships through marketing and social media and pay-per-click and customized banner ads. Invest that back into the quality control measures that ensure the handshake between employee and customer, so that you've maximized the experience your customer has with respect to your organizational brand through your people. How do you measure that your customers are happy or unhappy with you? Well, it's actually pretty easy. First of all, I want to introduce you to a concept called the Net Promoter Score. And this is pretty straightforward. And most organizations don't do it the way they should, but let me walk you through the concept. You ask your ideal relationship customer on a scale of 0, which means you wouldn't, to 10, meaning you have and you'd continue, to refer your friends and other people to us. Would you? So if they say 0 to 6, well, they're a hater. They're in they're the detractors. They're in the danger zone. The people who you ask on a scale of 0 to 10, not likely to highly likely to refer somebody to us or promote somebody to us. 7 or 8s may sound good, but they're relatively passive. They're neutral. You want to identify by surveying your customer base on a regular recurring basis, those people who have said 9s and 10s, gave you those scores. Have you solicited a formal client referral program, friends of friends, so to speak? And what are you doing actively to engage your customer segment, to survey them, to ask how you're doing in serving them? So it's a straightforward concept. That Net Promoter Score is an outcome. It's a reflection in terms of whether somebody will or won't refer people to you and have referred people to you based on a bigger picture consideration or concept called the customer lifetime journey. And there's a significant field of research and activity, finally, in this realm of customer engagement tracking. Customer lifetime journey analytics are the set of measures that your organization does use to monitor the lifetime relationship that you have with those customers of yours. From the moment you first make a connection, that they become aware that you exist, from that first touch point, all the way through the effective life of the relationship you have with that customer until they ultimately leave you and the relationship dissolves. It's tracking every single point. You may have 5 points of relationship communication. You may have 50,000. But you're tracking them to constantly determine what are the best touch points for you. And oh, by the way, your ideal relationship client. What's working best in those communication overtures? What's not working well? What are you getting strong response from? Not a strong response. Email newsletters, are they opened or deleted? Are people subscribing to your newsletter from your website or unsubscribing? Are they coming to your YouTube channel? You get the point. Are they answering your phone calls? Are they renewing the contract? Those are all customer journey analytics. And so you can see it's collecting data that becomes meaningful research that allows you to make decision making on your effective and unsuccessful customer relationship cultivation strategies. So let me say thank you for attending today's webinar. I understand you have a million gazillion things you can and needed to do, but as my way of saying thank you, reach out to me. I'll provide my details next, and we can have a one-on-one consultation about your client acquisition, client engagement, or customer lifetime value initiatives, especially in light of the fact that we lose the face-to-face interaction in a global pandemic, and we're all being relegated to maintaining relationships from afar virtually. So thank you again for your time. I take a bow. And my contact details are my website, thechazingroup.com, or you can reach out to me by my cell phone, 917-239-5571, or alternatively, you can email me at ethan@thechazingroup.com. Thank you so much for your time today. Best of luck in your future relationship cultivation with your clients.